here today.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. Great to see you, Sully Band. Well done. A couple new faces. Welcome to the program. I'm Sully. That would be Little Tommy. Here we go. So listen.
This is episode 80.
Thank you.
86. That's amazing. This is the
86th time we've done this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
We'll get it right at some point.
Hey, before we go on, I do have to say something.
Yes.
You know, it is called On the Air with Sully, Little Tommy, and Rusty Nails at this moment.
I know where this is.
And but I do want to say, it's not called The Sully Show.
Have I ever called it The Sully Show?
It's not called The Sully
Excuse
Show.
me. Have I ever called it The Sully Show?
At least 50.
Have I ever
No,
called
you have not.
Ever in the history of the show,
But
if I say welcome to, which it should be called.
I'll go to the grocery
The
store.
Sully Show.
I'll go to the grocery store or somewhere and someone will stop and go, hey, I watch you on The Sully Show. And I go, I don't know what that is. And they go, The Sully Show, there's the thing on television on KUSI. And I go, I don't know what you mean. And I go, oh, you mean Sully with Little Tommy and Rusty Nails?
Yeah.
And then they say, yeah,
Yeah,
that
The
one.
Sully
I
Show.
go, yeah. I just
I've never
wanted to say that.
Okay, well, you're right. It is our show. In fact, this whole show was not my idea. This show was Tommy's idea. Tommy is the, how do you call it? He's not the inspiration.
Creator.
Yeah, he's the creator.
The creator of all.
Co-creator.
Yes.
Because I was right behind you.
Yes, you were.
You called up, and I said, yeah, let's do that. Well, I'm sorry they call it The Sully Show. I'm
just
sorry,
kidding.
not sorry.
I'm just kidding.
What's going to go wrong?
I'm just kidding.
Because you haven't been famous enough for the last 25 years in San Diego. Finally, I'm getting a little, a little bit of attention.
I'm just kidding.
It's okay. By the way, I am very diligent about saying that when somebody says, hey, love your show, I go, yeah, me and Little Tommy work really hard on it, but not nobody else.
I'm just teasing. I'm looking forward to today.
All right, let's go.
Today we have a guest host. Let's bring him up.
One of my favorite guys, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
He was so helpful this week. I'll tell you about that coming up.
He's our guest host for today. Originally from Beverly Hills, California. From KUSI News.
There he is.
Logan Burns. Logan Burns.
What's going on, brother? Wait a minute.
There's the kid.
Is this, wait a minute.
Was that Grace?
Is that
You
Frankie?
guys are the best.
Is that Frankie Valli? Grease
Yes.
is the word.
Yes.
Wow. 1977 call.
This is awesome.
They
I am
want their
so
Chevy
happy.
Vega back.
I'm excited to be on the Little Tommy Show. This is amazing.
It is amazing, isn't
The
it?
Little Tommy Show. This is like part of what I've wanted to be on.
How
for
can you
so-
say it's anybody else's show? He's sitting at the
You
end
know
of
what?
the
I'm
table.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. But the reason why we played that song because your dad was in Greece.
He was in Greece. Vince Fontaine. Yeah.
What was his part? He was Vince Fontaine, but he was a TV.
It was like the
host.
National Bandstand host. It was like the Dick Clark.
He was a good-looking guy.
He was a good-looking guy,
That's where
wasn't
you
he? And fun. Yeah, he was a great dad.
Speaking of fun, and we're going to talk about this later, but we had an event this week for my campaign for Leukemia Lymphoma Society over at Monarch, and I believe it was on Tuesday night. Total success.
Yes.
A big
Huge.
part of that success was Logan Burns.
Thank you. And my Palomas.
And your well, we've got a little bit of bit of rare footage here.
You do.
From the event. If Pat Gilligan, who is subbing for our Emmy Award-winning director Jared.
All right,
Cohen,
Pat.
But listen to this.
Hey, oh boy.
No, I can't hear it. I'm looking.
So Hadley, what do we come in at? Hadley.
That's probably not the video I'm looking for because I don't know.
I think this is when I won the
you won the
competition. There were two women. They each threw $100 in to tip me.
Just because you went over and said hi.
And that put me over the top.
This is what happens when you put your
And Teresa was very
Well, wait a
upset
second.
that I beat her.
We also have a cutaway, some rare footage of you in action here too.
Okay.
We can
All
see
right.
that.
Good.
Because
In action.
we had a really good crowd. Because,
There it is.
So listen to this one.
Sully, come meet my friend Reg. Hey. What do I got? Let's get in here.
Coming in.
Wow.
I can't hear anything. You guys can't.
Oh, you did.
What happened? I got enough stuff.
This is you. Yeah, you're in rare form.
Uh-oh. I'm taking.
Ladies and gentlemen, the alcohol is still pouring. The ice is cold. We've got plenty of servers here ready to go. We've got palomas. We've got margaritas, beer, wine, and a Bible study.
And a Bible study. There you go.
There it is. Bible study.
Bible study. Well, thank you for all your support. That was fantastic. And all the
that was good.
ladies wanted to meet wanted to meet our boy here,
Well, it was
Logan
nice.
Burns.
It was a nice turn.
And they were putting Benjamin's
tip jar. In the tip jar.
Just for the chance of having you come up and give him a hug.
Wow.
But it was amazing that night because he got off work at 7 and then went immediately.
He did. He went right over. Fantastic. So.
Yeah.
And then went back.
And then went back and did the 10 and 11 o'clock news. The number one news in San Diego.
Did you
Yes, it is.
did you went back and went to work?
Yes. Yes.
Good thing you didn't drink too much orange juice.
No. I kept
All right, let's
clean.
go. Let's
Kept
get this
it clean.
party started.
Let's do
All right,
this, you
We
guys.
have more guests. Ladies and gentlemen, the legendary CEO of the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club, Mr. Joe Harper.
There he is.
Come on. The legend. Welcome to the Sully
All
Show.
right.
Tommy, thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
love
Harper.
it. You know, it's
Mr.
great.
Do you know where that story? Do you know where that story came from? He said, I was talking to Joe Harper the other day, and Joe Harper said, I'm so looking forward to being on the Sully Show with you. And then all of a sudden I got a phone call. And this whole thing came up about that. So it is called On the Air, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
With Sully. and
little Tommy.
Sorry.
Yeah.
funny.
Tommy told me you'd say that.
Yeah, of course he
Yeah.
did.
But thanks for being here, Mr. Harper. You're truly an icon.
Are you kidding? I love this place. It really is.
Can I ask you something?
Huh.
So I'm driving by yesterday to the fairgrounds, and I'm seeing the flags going up because the fair is here.
True.
And I'm wondering, is this the most trying time for you, and you know they're going to beat up your oval, your racetrack for a period of 6 weeks, and then you have about a day and a half to get it ready?
Sully, they are the landlord.
Yeah, they are the land. I understand.
No, they actually, we work together great. I mean,
Yes, do.
and this year especially because we're not opening until the 22nd.
there you
So when they're over the 4th of July thing, then we have plenty of time to make the track safe and all that kind of stuff.
All right, very good. Speaking of the fair,
Yeah.
they are doing something this year at the San Diego County Fair called Community Heroes. And guess who's one of the heroes?
You.
Little Tommy.
Little
Come on.
Tommy's a
Here
hero.
we go. You got it.
Thank you. But I think it's because of breaking and entering Christmas and
Oh, there you
I
go.
think it's because of a lot of things and your show.
Yeah.
all right.
If I'm not mistaken. Hey, are we, Mary? Are we? I think we're playing. Do you have a mic over there?
Yeah.
Are we playing at the fair this year? Wasn't it? It's. I think there's a belly up day at the fair. So we
Oh,
can
great.
play. So we'll have more details on that.
You're playing Saturday
Today, right after the
Hey.
show.
today.
3 o'clock. We're
Solana
from here
Beach.
to there.
3 o'clock.
at the Fiesta del Sol.
I might
Super
be
fun.
there.
You need to be there.
I'm
Very good.
a fan of the band.
Thank you. What else we got?
There it is.
We have more
Shot for the
guests.
kid.
More guests.
You got it. Let's go.
Originally from the Bronx, arrived in San Diego in 1976, where he became a radio legend. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Glickenhaus.
Let's hear. Let's
Hey, Logan. Good to see you, my
Can I
friend.
ask you the question? How come every time I come to work here to do this show, I find a former boss
yeah.
who's now a friend, a boss, and a business partner? But
Wow.
but no,
That's
it's
quite a
It
triple.
really is. But it seems like every time I turn around, someone of my bosses is here from the past who can tell stories. Glick, you are a legend, and it's so great to have you here.
Who?
You are.
Yeah, he is.
You caused all of this mess in San Diego radio 30 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever.
Happy to do my part.
But was it fun, especially in the 90s? Was that a fun time because everyone was doing so well and you were the man, you were in charge of your radio stations?
We had a lot of radio stations in those days. Yes, it was from the start of being in radio in San Diego, it's all been fun. Different kinds of fun, definitely over different decades, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great people. I mean, look, got to work with Sully.
Yeah.
Come on. And you for about 5 minutes.
For about literally 5 minutes.
Yes.
Literally
Weren't you
5
the
minutes.
one that hired Russ T. Nails first?
Yes.
You were the person
Wow,
on
great.
the original.
on 91X morning show.
That's right.
Yes.
And Russ, of course, God rest his soul, what changed all of us in the 80s because we were just kids listening to yacht rock, and then suddenly new wave and punk rock came in when we were all in college, and Russ was sort of the face of San Diego for that.
Yep, 1983 when 91X, it was like January of 1983 when 91X changed to Rock of the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. And it
And
worked
it
out.
was Crazy times.
It was like a golden time, wasn't it, in radio? It
really
seems
was.
like.
Yes.
It was.
Now you've got satellite, and now you've got podcasts, and YouTube, and Instagram, and so many other avenues.
As Tommy knows, it still can be a fun time. It's a different fun time.
And I tell people this: radio is bigger than ever. It just looks different. Yes, back then when we were growing up, it was your car radio or the little radio you had by your bedside. But now it's this. Just like television, you can get everything right here. In my opinion, radio is bigger. The definition has changed. It's podcasting. It's social media. So radio.
Especially those Saturday and Sunday mornings when Tommy's on KGB. Come on, you know.
Yes.
That's right. You're still a broadcaster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I phone it in a couple days a week at Kogo still. News Radio 600 Kogo. Number one
Are
news
you
station.
still on Kogo a little bit?
Yeah, I'm on in the mornings doing the business stuff.
Good.
I tried to retire on Kogo several times. I tried to retire when Carl DeMaio joined me on my afternoon show. Immediately tried to retire. I love Carl.
I love Carl.
And then I did the business stuff, and then we got busy with this, and I said, I can't do 5 days, but I can do like 1.5 here and there. So
That's nice.
So you get
What
to
else
keep
we-
your hand in the
I get to say I'm
in the radio jar.
That's exactly.
Okay, let's bring in the next guest.
All right, here we go. Let's do it.
Former mayor of San Diego, perhaps, in my opinion, the future governor of California.
There it is.
KUSI contributor, Mr. Kevin Faulconer.
The Honorable. The Honorable.
Right on, brother. Good to see you.
California man. That's your walk on.
Faulconer.
Faulconer, how you doing, sir?
I've made it.
I finally made it to the Little Tommy show.
Awesome. You did it, baby.
So you
Highlight.
realize from now on, heretofore, I'm going to have people walking up to me for the next 6 months saying this.
But thanks, Mr. Faulconer, for being here. And
Can I tell you what?
Tommy, this is a pleasure to be with
Well,
you.
let me
Thank
say
you
this.
very much.
You just said you finally made it. Do you know what I knew? I finally made it. We were playing at Humphreys.
Oh.
And Catherine Faulconer, the Honorable First Lady, came to see us with a bunch of her friends. And Kevin had flown. You can tell the story, but I'll tell you when I knew I made it is when Kevin Faulconer, Mayor Faulconer, had to pay a cover charge to get in because they didn't recognize it. I knew I had made it.
It was mostly worth it, too.
Well played. Well played.
You know, I know we're in the primaries right now. People are voting. They're getting their ballots in the mail.
Yeah.
And I hope one day, maybe in another year or two, they see Kevin Faulconer for governor of California.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Hold on to that thought. I will tell you. I loved the job as mayor, and what we were able to do here in San Diego. I was pretty damn proud of it.
Well, you were.
More to come. More to
It
come.
looked like this recall was going to happen, and you were going to be the guy. Then suddenly, we saw a candidate come in and just upset the apple cart for really no apparent reason, just because he had a big audience.
The recall
that's
was
my
a
opinion.
circus.
Speaking of a radio guy.
Yeah, speaking of a radio.
Yeah.
Radio screws it all up once again. So what are you doing now?
You know, hanging out here.
That's
pretty
good.
much.
I like that.
You know, that's about
You
it.
deserve a little bit of a break there.
No, you know, it's been great. I love it. I'm doing some consulting work, doing some stuff at Pepperdine University with the graduate school, which I love. Great team up there. And doing stuff on KUSI as a contributor. So
love
it's
that.
been great
You're
to
running
kinda
triathlons.
talk to something, you know, from the other side here a little bit.
Right.
And have a little more time, so trying to get in shape, trying to match this guy.
I still
Byrnes.
think we should be doing Sully and the Mayor somewhere. I think we should. We talked about a talk show back when you were on radio. I think we should still do that.
You think I'd get a word in edgewise?
That would be tough. You got to
What do you
fight.
think, guys?
Boom, there it is.
What could be new?
I'd walk in and say, "How's it going?" and then I'd just sit back for the rest of the show. That'd be a great show.
Hey, today's Saturday. The other day, Thursday, you were in Stanford talking about the homeless situation.
Yeah, it was. I've been doing some traveling. I was in Spokane, Washington, the week before, talking about what we were able to do in San Diego, the San Diego model. You know, as I've talked about, we were the only big city in California where we actually reduced homelessness, reduced it by double digits. And, you know, I was proud of that because we really brought the city together to make a difference. And so I've been going around talking about the steps we took, the action that we took. It's not just about talk, it's about action. And not allowing tent encampments in your city, in your canyons, because we care about people enough not to let them die on the sidewalk. So I've been taking that message about, hey, we've got to really get it going. And so other cities that have known what we were able to do, it's been great to kind of really spread that word of, hey, man, we're gonna take care of people because we love them, and we're not going to see what's happening on too many streets in California.
Well, and
there it is.
Well, and we did a great job here, and we do this count every January. I know it was later this year, But it was palpable as you saw the numbers going down year after year when you were.
Yeah, and I think, well, unfortunately, there's been a little change, obviously, downtown, and those numbers are starting to creep back up. So, I think
they're creeping up a lot.
Now more than ever, it requires action, because it's all about helping folks. It's about our quality of life, and we know how to do it. We have a great San Diego model, so it's been great talking about that in other places.
Mr. Harper, speaking of San Diego, you've been here for a few days. Okay.
Finding your way around, okay?
So it was funny, interesting talking about the 80s and 91X, but talk about the racetrack in the 80s versus the changes that have gone on, because we saw a really big marketing push towards, I believe, the mid-90s and then the 2000s. Talk about then versus now.
Well, it came out of Hollywood, Bing and all those guys that were in the movies. So that's what put it on the map. Yeah. But it kind of slipped down. A lot of those stars died off, and so I got there in '77 full time, and it had the feeling. You went there, you relaxed, you had a good time, and so we kind of told everybody, hey, we're in the entertainment business. We're not just in the racing business.
Right.
We want these people to be happy here. We want them to have a good time, give them some decent food. Got rid of an old caterer, brought in the new one.
Yeah.
Brought in the concerts and all kinds of things. So it brought in a group of people that didn't normally go to the races.
Yeah.
And that's grown over the years, and we've adjusted our marketing.
It has, because I remember surfing and then playing beach volleyball at Mission Beach and then running up to the races.
Oh, great.
As a college kid to go hang the races. Now it's a social event for everyone. It's not just racing fans. It's San Diego fans and Del Mar fans and outdoor and sunshine fans.
And there happens to be some horse racing going
on.
on.
That's right.
Yeah. Somebody's making a bet. I know that.
The athleticism and the long legs and then there's the horses.
Yep. Yeah.
So
I know why he comes to the
track.
Well, I know. And opening day's coming up. That's always
opening
so fun.
day, yeah, on the 22nd.
Mr. Harper, did you have any idea that Long Shot was going to win the Kentucky Derby?
Oh, that's a great question.
No, absolutely not. If he'd have told me he was going to be last, I'd have said that horse. But that was one of the most amazing rides of any Derby I've ever seen.
Yes.
That jockey knew exactly what that horse had left, and those other horses went out fast. Mm-hmm. He was there,
So
I love it. There's such nice people.
That was a great race. That was a great race.
You always got to put $100 on the Long Shot, right?
Yeah.
$100 on the Long Shot.
We will now.
Yeah. We will. All right, much more to come on the Tommy Show.
With Sully.
I'm just pushing buttons.
Yeah.
Well, you put on a good show. Damn, it's great. I will
But
tell
the
you.
Sully Band, you guys are playing at Fiesta del Sol.
This is our warm-up.
3 o'clock today.
3 o'clock today up in Solana Beach at the End of Loma Santa Fe. Super fun show. We've got a number of bands up there. You got Yachtly Crew's been there. We've got Common Sense. Betamax was a great 80s band. But that is super fun. What they do is Solana Beach is not a giant city. It basically goes from Villa de la Valle up to about Las Olas Mexican restaurant. And then it turns into Cardiff.
Right.
But at the end of Loma Santa Fe, they shut the old chart house there where the Fletcher Cove is. They shut it down. They put tents up. They put stages up. And it turns into a mini Wonderfront. Speaking of Wonderfront, but it's a mini. It's just food and art
and free, I believe.
Yeah, well, there's tickets that can be purchased for VIP, but it's a blast. You should go see. It's one of the. Somebody asked me the other day, what am I looking forward to most? And I said one of the highlights definitely Fiesta del Sol. 45-minute gig on and off, and then you're bending the elbow for the rest of the afternoon.
I love it.
I got a question for Mike Glickenhaus. All right. Radio in the 80s and 90s, in my opinion, it was fun, and we were all battling each other. You could say it was radio wars, and you were one of the leaders of the many stations. Do you have like a cool favorite story you can tell us?
I have, well, most of them I can't tell you. And then, the 80s and 90s are a little blurry also for many of us.
Yes.
But we had just recently been bought by a new company out of town, and they were buying more stations and building a group. And one of the new program directors came in and he said to me, I just want to give you a heads up. You know, we hear that one of the competitors is doing some music testing, and we're going to go dumpster diving. And I kind of looked at him and said, huh? Well, yeah, you know, they toss out all the research and they throw it in the dumpster, and we go find it. And that's how we know what they're going to play or what the perceptions are. And
it's like politics over here, Tom.
Yeah, you know,
opposition research.
I didn't know what dumpster diving was until that. But, you know, that was one. And then, you know, probably one of my favorite promotions. We did it 91X, and I think we did it a couple times. I think it was the 80s. Of Expose the X, which it was a promotion where the listeners really got to put on their creative hats and do whatever they wanted to do to expose the call letters. And I think the grand prize was $50,000 in cash.
Wow. What?
So it was a big prize. We had people painting their houses with big 91X logos on the roof.
Great.
We did get into some trouble with the city, even though we didn't do it.
Because you painted the city administration building?
Somebody went and to Rose Canyon, you know, along the 5.
Right, sure.
They, in the hill where the grass was overgrown,
Used to say Bay-Ho.
they carved out a 91X logo in there, and then I get called by the city saying, you know, you can't do that, and we didn't do anything.
That was Kevin.
Yeah.
It was Kevin.
That was
A younger version.
We had people skydiving with the logo.
You were in state at the time. This could have been you.
No, I remember it.
That was one of my favorite promotions on a good note compared to the dumpster diving, you know, in the competitive.
I think we should do a promo called Expose Opening Day. Expose your opening day.
There's a lot of exposure there. I know that, yeah.
And let's put out some prize money and we can see everybody put. What date is opening day this year?
July 22nd, a little later than normal.
Well,
That's on a Friday. Is that right?
Yep.
You're doing it on. You used to do it on a Wednesday.
We used to do it, earlier, but
Yeah,
you know,
that's a good idea.
we need a little more time to get the track ready and things like that. So it should be.
I love the day after opening day.
Yeah, that's
driving
good too,
through
isn't it?
Del Mar to go get your coffee. And it's sort of it seemed like such a good idea at the time walk. You're seeing what's going on. Because the locals in Del Mar sort of sit back and kind of watch that. What's
Up by the low bears and that Starbucks up there, you see who's rolling in from a big night.
Right.
Got a question for Logan. The last time you were here, you were talking about being in a jacuzzi with Farrah Fawcett. You were talking about
It was a hot tub episode.
It was the hot tub episode.
You were talking
5.
about how Natalie Wood's your godmother.
Right, yeah.
Do you have another cool Hollywood story?
Yeah, you would ask me during the break. I'm trying to come up with one. You know, I remember Christmas being around at different celebrities' homes. You know, I don't know if it's a great story, but we would go over to different celebrities' homes. Natalie Wood, Robert
She's famous
Wagner,
for
RJ.
Name dropper.
Yeah, I know. Hey, let me pick this up, Mike. And it was just kind of a fun atmosphere. She was good friends with Joan Collins and Jackie Collins back when she was writing those books, and it seemed like the whole cast of Dallas or Dynasty was there. And I was a little kid, but I knew enough, and they just always had so much fun, and it just seemed.
Well, there's a dovetail because when you were a little kid, weren't you on the set of the Ten Commandments or something like that?
Sure, I was a Hebrew slave.
Is that what your business card today?
Nobody bought that.
Is that why you didn't make it actually on film?
I tell you, I had a wig on, I had dark makeup on, I had a headband, and I looked like an Irish paper boy with a bad wig. I'm telling you, and I had a shot with Edward G. Robinson when he says, "Where's your God now, Moses?" You know that line?
Right.
I was standing right next to him when he said it. And I said, "This is great. I'm gonna be."
I'm in.
The director happened to be my grandfather. He said, "Move back a little for this next shot."
That would be Cecil DeMille.
Right.
Next thing I know, I'm in Pomona. I mean, it's out of the shot. Well.
I love it.
I got paid anyway.
So the city seems to be open again. If you were mayor right now, and I know that you probably get this question, I hate to answer it, but would you change? What would be the first thing you'd change about, or change back? I would say, because, boy, I'll tell you, we were humming on all 8 cylinders there towards the end, and obviously politics. We've gotten more divided here. We had COVID and everything else. Well, if you were to actually take hold again, what's the first thing you'd change back to our city?
I think you're right. I think it's great to have San Diego back open. We were just talking earlier too about all the concert seasons that's going on. Oh, thank God. I mean, it's been fantastic. I think it's important as we come out of COVID. If you don't have a safe city, you don't have anything. So supporting our police department, taking a pretty firm stand against some of those folks that wanted to defund our police department. You remember when I was mayor. That last year, I had the pleasure of having hundreds of people out in front of my house every night.
Yeah, your residents.
That was a good time.
With defund the police, and I said, hell no. That's not what you're going to do. And so I think that's incredibly important as we move forward. And as we were talking about earlier, from our quality of life, really taking a strong stand on homelessness and helping people and, having consequences for action. So I think those are some of the big things that as we open, but I mean, man, we are so all looking forward to summer here.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
It's going to be great in San Diego, and it's going to be great for me on this side of it, and I'm going to go out and enjoy it.
No, you should. It would be interesting to see you as a contributor to KOSI with a microphone in hand down at City Hall. I'm just saying, who wouldn't pay good money to see that? Several of those interviews. I think Mike can arrange it. Would you? I would love to see that. Michael, when you think about the empire that you were overseeing, and there was not much of a digital footprint back then. When we come back, I want to hear about sort of the then and now, how you would, if you had those tools in your hand then, how much different would radio be in San Diego? And I'm going to talk about it, because Glickenhaus.
The evil empire.
There was. How many stations did you look over?
At our height, we had 13 stations.
Yeah. So could you imagine? And there was no digital footprint.
Websites, early websites were coming in, and nobody would ever confuse me with being a technologist, but I knew connecting with your audience more was a good thing. And if
Talk about that. I think that's good stuff. All right. The Honorable Mayor Kevin Faulconer, Joe Harper from the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club, Mike Glickenhaus, radio icon and king of all at one point here. Logan Burns, the hot tub spokesman for Hollywood, California. Sully, Little Tommy, you're on the air. Stand by. That musicology a lot. You like that now, huh? You know why I like to play that? No vocals. There's no need for a frontman on this song. There you go. Well done, Sully Band. Nice to have you.
I'll be there today at 3, Fiesta del Sol.
Yeah, Fiesta del Sol. It's super fun.
I think I will too.
Get
I might get there at 2:45.
I would argue that this is one of those shows you need a ride to.
Yeah.
Get yourself an Uber. There's
go.
lots of cars left over the next day.
I may walk.
No, there is.
I'm nearby.
Yeah, exactly right.
I'll walk up the beach.
Joe, how many people do you guys employ? Let's put my business hat on for a second, because there's a lot of economic impact going on over there in Del Mar every year. And you guys create every single year the equivalent of a Super Bowl in economic activity for the whole city. And then, of course, in Del Mar, there's a lot. How many people altogether are you employing, from the parking attendants to the ticket takers to everybody?
Well, and also the whole backstretch. I mean, there's 1,000 employees over there that are work for the trainers and everything.
Right.
And, so probably another 1,000 or so, up front, and by the time it's over. And I mean, it's a great crew. I mean, we've had that crew. Nobody ever seems to leave,
Right.
We have them. I get great respect for them. I felt so sorry for those year and a half with when they couldn't work, and it was a happy day in my life when we brought those guys back.
How did you guys survive that? I mean, you're a business like anything else, and that's a tough one.
So much of our business is online. The wagering, probably 90% of our total handle is off track. And last year it was out of sight. It was crazy. I think, granted, we had the Breeders' Cup there, but they bet in 46 days of racing $927 million, which was an all-time record. It's up like 30% over our best year ever. So, and that's good, because that makes our purses for the horsemen this year so high, highest ever in California.
Why do you think that was?
Good management.
Yes, it was.
That's leadership, baby, right there.
Our people home during the pandemic and they needed to spend some money. They were making money on Bitcoin and the stock market.
Play this one black for our board of directors. But yeah, it was just everybody wanted to get out and do that, and I think that was a major part of it. So.
Did you pay him for that tee up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Did I tee it up for you well enough, Joe? We practiced it in the parking lot.
But it's a great comment on supply and demand, because we had pent-up demand as consumers. Yeah. And by the way, you're seeing the face of that right now, because we all talk about the supply part of inflation and the supply chain issues. But just as big of a culprit, even though 70% of anybody's economy is consumer spending, when you spend too much too fast, now you've got a demand problem. And a demand problem with a supply chain problem causes something. But in your case, we had pent-up demand to spend more money than we ever had. Yeah. And it actually, and I don't think it's going to back off. I think that because we have more money in the bank, there's a report out this morning here on KUSI, there's more money on the sidelines than there has been since literally 1990. That's a chunk of, that's good, and that's good for retailers, it's good for venues, it's good for the concerts.
Do you think the stock market's going to turn around quickly, Sully? I mean, it was down 1,000 points, I think, last week. In one day.
Let me ask you this. Is Apple any different of a company than it was 6 months ago? Is Starbucks?
Yeah, I guess not.
If you look at a chart of the stock market back during the Great Recession, and you look at it now, and what you're going to see is, but we were here at the end of the Great Recession. We're here now.
Yeah.
And in terms of what's happened, we had a blip in COVID. We have a blip here for inflation. But if the S&P was a good bargain here, isn't it a good bargain here looking forward 10 years from now? If the market wasn't a good bet, the Dow Jones would not be at 31, 32, 33,000. It'd be a negative number, like it is on the Bolsa, which is the Mexican stock exchange, or other parts of the world. So yes, it's a good bet. Real estate, equities, and horse racing. That's how you make your money.
I got a question for Glickenhaus.
That's how you make your money.
I got a question for Mike.
Yes, Tommy.
So, born and raised in New York City.
Yes.
Yankees or Mets?
Yankees.
Now,
God, that took you no time.
It was the Bronx. I grew up in the Bronx, a couple of subway stops away.
But coming from New York City, you have the best television talent, you have the best radio talent. Were you a radio fan back then? Who did you grow up listening to?
I was as a listener, I was a fan of WNEW-FM, which was Scott Muni and Allison Steele and Jonathan Schwartz and Pete Fornatel were the names. You hear some of them on Sirius XM these days.
Yes.
And I was a rocker. That was the music I liked. And so I would, switch around and go to the different stations. But yes, I didn't know anything about the inside of a radio business, but I was a listener. I was a fan of music. That's
how did you
what
get
first
there?
attracted
I mean, how do you go from being a radio listener? I know the business of how to get on the air. You know how you get on the air? Happen to be in the building, and somebody's going to put you on the air eventually. Honestly, if you're a receptionist at a radio station, if you want to be on the air, you're going to get there some way. How do you go from where you were to management at the highest level in the 8th largest city in the U.S.?
Well, for me, it was literally, you got to start somewhere. I happened to see an ad in the Union Tribune, or it could have been the San Diego Union.
Or the Evening Tribune, the green one.
I don't remember which one.
Remember the green one?
But I saw an ad said 91X broadcast sales, and I sent in a resume, and lo and behold, that's where I first met my friend John Lynch, who was the general manager of the stations. We had 2 radio stations in those days. It was owned by a company called Noble Broadcast Group.
Sure.
And I started. And that's,
that was it.
I just worked, one thing I saw in San Diego when I first got here was if the waves were breaking, half the people didn't show up to work. And
welcome to San Diego.
And so I was raised to work hard and, really leave it all out there. And so I worked hard.
It seems like right now, if somebody wants to get into radio or broadcasting, they just have their own podcast or they create their own YouTube channel. What would you recommend to somebody who wants to get into this business with the landscape that it is now?
Well, I think it's all about, radio in general, other than some of the, news talk stations, it's entertainment. And even then, whether you liked or did not like Rush Limbaugh's politics, he was an entertainer.
Yeah.
And I think really how you are an entertainer, whether it's on YouTube or on Twitch or on Snapchat or on Facebook or whatever platform you're on, people now are looking for the next talent in a lot of different
Rogan
places.
is just unbelievable, isn't he? I remember when he started his podcast, I thought, well, what are even these podcasts? You've got to be on something legitimate. You can't just have a microphone and a guest.
Well, if you have a fast car, you
can.
can turn left and make you an NASCAR driver.
Hey, after the break, I want to ask Glickenhaus what he thought when John Lynch Jr. was inducted into the National Football Hall of Fame.
I want to hear about your ascension, and I need to hear more childhood stories from Harper because Edward G. Robinson was in the kitchen nook. I got to hear more stories like that. All right, on the air. Stand by. I'll never forget the recall cylinder campaign we had in front of Kogo Radio, and that was great. But I mean, and your youth with just, you start dropping names like, Bing and Bob and Grandpa Cecil.
Charlton Heston was probably in your kitchen.
You're making us.
Charlton Heston taught him how to surf.
Yeah, that's right.
It's amazing.
Some of the silent stars were there. But they never said anything.
You were asking. You had a question for Glick. Do you remember what it was, or did you lose track?
I did lose track.
That's fine.
I did lose track.
Can you tell us one of the stories of your being at Gramps' house? Grandpa, of course, was again.
Yeah, well, Logan was talking about Christmas. It was the same thing at our house.
Really?
It seemed everybody came there to pay homage.
Yeah.
When he was making a lot of movies. Of course, Uncle Tony came all the time, and my uncle was Anthony Quinn. He married my mother.
Uncle Tony was
yeah.
Anthony Quinn.
Zorba.
Yeah.
Zorba.
That's right. Yeah, and he was Mexican. But the funny story.
He wasn't
He was half Irish, half Mexican.
But wait a second. Wasn't his brand a Greek actor? Wasn't that his brand?
He was good at doing everything.
Well, he was a good actor.
Played bullfight.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
But he was fun. Every time he'd come for Christmas, whatever part he was playing, he kind of half came in character, So he came in one day. I said, "Oh, hi, Uncle Tony. Hey, where's the tequila?" I said, "Oh, it's making Brando with Viva Zapata." Good old Uncle Tony.
Were you were in politics? Were you in politics at San Diego State?
I was, yeah.
So was that something you always aspired to?
I'm sure it was. I mean, I get that question. The earliest from my family, we're talking about family, my dad, when I was growing up, was the deputy city manager of my hometown in Oxnard. And so as a kid, he used to bring me to city council meetings. I'd sit in the back and do my homework while my dad was up, doing stuff with the city council. So I'm sure some of that rubbed off on me. But yeah, I got really involved at San Diego State.
I do always wonder, how local guys, just normal kids, because I'm not suggesting that not everybody could do this, but when you see somebody make it in their hometown, it's almost a rarity sometimes, because sometimes you have to go somewhere else to reinvent yourself. You didn't ever have to do that. You took this path in college at SCSU, then in business in the PR world, and then hopped into as a city council member that was at the first foray into politics?
Yeah, I was a volunteer. I started as a volunteer on the Mission Bay Park Committee, and then ran for council, lost the first time, came back and won, and then met this guy here during the Filner recall. I remember those go-go things out front of City Hall, and then
that was an amazing time.
It was.
And you pounced on a perfect opportunity, which I think is.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a good time for
not for San Diego.
And I think it was a real opportunity to get in there and put us back on the map. We were on the map for all the wrong reasons, to put us back and for all the right reasons. So it was actually turned out to be a good time for San Diego. I think at the end, when we really brought the city together and got us back on track.
Hey, Mike. So John Lynch hires you in 1979. How did you feel when his son was inducted into the National Football Hall of Fame?
Oh, that was you for National Radio. I'm sorry. He just had to bring it up. I had a cue. There it is. Here it is. All right. There it is. Sorry. I'm back. Okay, back. We can catch it up. Let's keep
going. Whether I should have felt this way or not, I was really proud.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew him as a little kid. I mean, I go back. One of the things John would do was, certainly we mixed family and business, and John Sr. was a big supporter of his kids' sporting endeavors, and John Jr. was certainly a very good athlete at Torrey Pines High School. So was Ryan, his younger son. And one day I get a call in my office from John, and he says, hey, I need you to come up and help us with Little League practice. And I was like the sales manager or the general manager. I forget what it was. But when the big guy calls, it doesn't really matter. And I went out to Little League practice, and I'm going, what am I doing here? Well, Mike, you're a lefty, and the boys are facing a lefty pitcher.
Pitch to the kids.
And I'm going, John, I haven't thrown a hard ball in probably, 10 years, 15 years. And so he says, well, we still want you to pitch. So I'm pitching batting practice, hitting the kids. They say...
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose. They say, well, snap a curve. And I'm looking at them going, I couldn't snap a curve when I was playing Little League myself, let alone. But, but Johnny, he is one of those people that is... What you see is what you get. He was a great kid growing up, and he seems to be the same great kid now. And more power to him and everything he's done, and go 49ers.
Oh, yeah. Go Niners.
I have a question for you. I know that you're speaking a lot and do keynotes and quite a bit. What is the topic they're asking you to talk on?
We'll talk about leadership, some crisis communications things, and back to talk a lot about some of those things that happened on standing up, doing the right thing.
Yeah,
when other cities were defunding their police in California, we said heck no here in San Diego. So I weave in a lot of that with our former police chief Shelley Zimmerman, who we see a lot out there on the bike and with challenged athletes. So it's a real opportunity to lessons learned and. How you can fortunately bring it together to do it right.
Are you as you watch the midterms and everything else go on, I'm assuming that you are watching play-by-play at this governor's race. When you come back, I want to hear how you're going to assess.
We want an
the next several
announcement.
years. I want to okay.
Announce it.
All right. The Honorable Kevin Faulconer, Joe Harper, Mike Glickenhaus, Logan Burns on The Tommy Show, ladies and gentlemen. I say we set them up at the front gate as people are coming through. You know what's fun about the races this year is, like in the last several years, all the concerts happening. You start, you go for the races and you stay for some of these great concerts afterwards. That's got to be a great driver for you guys and get people over.
We got the new concert venue over there now, too.
I know.
You playing?
No, I was never invited by Joe. Now, Joe, there's a standing sort of a standing restraining order. Joe says, hey, if he calls.
Before we bring out our next guest, Kevin was going to announce something about.
What's the announcement? Kevin Faulconer, here we go.
I'm going to be the helper on the Sully Show going forward.
You and you met our pal Rusty Nails back in SCSU days, didn't you?
I did, yeah. We were talking about that. It was Tuesday night comedy at Monty's Den. It was probably 1986 or 87. And pitchers of beer were like $2. And I had
God,
$2.
Monty's was
So I went. And I will tell you, we were just talking, Mike. I mean, his routine. It was, I had my friend Phil, who owns a filling station.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And man, he was just killing it and then he played Monty's Den like all the time, and it was packed and sold out.
I remember scheduling my classes there at SCSU, so I wouldn't have any classes past 11 a.m. on Friday, because it was one of those places that populated by 12:15, and you'd stay there till 7 or 8 at night. It was fantastic stuff. So
all right.
Listen,
let's bring in our next guest.
Yeah, because this is important stuff that we want to deal with here. What do we got?
From the Leukemia Lymphoma Society, Ms. Hadley Weiss.
Wow. Oh, Nacho saw a girl walk in the studio.
All right. Hadley Weiss, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations. Last Tuesday night, you had a great event.
Yes.
On behalf of this guy
All
right here.
thanks to Sully and his team.
Wow.
Amazing.
It was so great, and it was great to have you there, because I think people need to hear this, because she started her speech or talking to us and getting out donations by saying, hey, who here in this room or this venue has been affected by someone with cancer? And everybody put their hand up. And then you went on to say, every 10 seconds,
every 3 minutes, someone in the U.S. is hearing the words, you have cancer.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so it's impacting everyone.
Yeah, it's so funny. She said last night, thanks to Sully for volunteering for this Man of the Year. I volunteer my little Tommy,
this guy,
Lauren Finney.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, I don't. But how do you say no? No, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can't help raise money for cancer.
Yeah.
So we set a goal, and we're getting there. And we've got, what do we have? Another 6 weeks to go?
You have 5 weeks.
5 weeks. To
Oh
go.
boy.
Yeah, it's a 10-week philanthropic competition. So we're in week 5, and it all ends on June 25th.
Yeah.
What do we need to do to get
Right.
Scratch a check. So yeah.
But you're not assigned to Sully. You look after all of them.
So
right?
I do. So I oversee the campaign here in San Diego. So we have 11 candidates competing for the title of Man and Woman of the Year. So Sully is competing against the other men in San Diego. It is a blind competition.
I've been competing against other men in San Diego since.
Yeah. I know. It's true.
So it's a blind competition. So no one knows where they stand up until the final moments.
Yeah,
You have more events coming up, like what we did.
I don't know, Mary. Do we have more events coming up?
June 17th.
June 7th.
What do we got?
June 17th, the Belly Up Happy Hour,
Oh, there we
5
go.
to
There it is.
7:30. Sully Band
It's always
is
belly up.
playing, so all of y'all will be there, right?
Yeah,
with your
that's
good.
checkbooks. Yes,
fantastic.
Logan, maybe guest
Okay.
bartending again.
Maybe. Okay. I'll bring my checkbook too.
By the way, an important note is that Lauren Finney from KUSI here was our Woman of the Year last year.
She is. We have good people on our corner getting people wrapped
Yeah,
up into the
that's
campaign.
really good.
So she won last year, raising over $136,000.
Goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can't touch that. You can't even touch that.
I thought you said it was like 3,600, Mary. Because we're halfway there. And that was a check that I wrote, and my parents. No, it's you guys. KUSI will tell you. The only inside thing I can tell you is that KUSI audience members have been really generous with their donations because we're running spots on KUSI about our events and everything else that we're doing, and you guys have been really helpful. So you can go to any one of our websites, but if you go to Loft 100 Studios or SullyEntertainmentGroup.com, there's a link. There's a donation link there. So
And every dollar does make a difference. I know people hear that, but it really does make a difference.
Why are you involved? Why
Why
do
am
you
I
do this?
involved? Yeah, so I've been with LLS for about 6 years. When I was in my 20s, I did lose a close, childhood friend to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I worked for Make-A-Wish, and like we all said, we've all been impacted. So the research that LLS does is making people, getting people through it.
Can I ask you? You said a number to me last night when we were talking. How many hundreds of millions of dollars has this organization raised?
Yeah, so we've given over $1.5 billion to research specifically. We've
With
given
a B?
With a B,
yeah.
and it's just going up. And then over $430 million to copay assistance, which is huge because everyone knows how expensive treatment is, and people need to have access to it.
Right.
And then this campaign in particular has raised over $450 million across the country for LLS.
We had a woman show up
So-
on Tuesday
Well done.
who is battling cancer. She seems like she's getting through it. She takes a chemo pill that costs her $18,000 a month.
Yep.
And she mentioned that you guys are helping with that copay and everything else to get
She's
through it. So
battled multiple myeloma, and there's been so many new treatments, and oral chemo is so much easier on the system and more convenient that people should have access to
They
it.
charge that much. That's outrageous.
Hadley, how do people get involved? Not just with my event, but they can get more information.
So please go to LLS.org if someone is currently battling or caretaking for someone with blood cancer. LLS.org. Our Information Resource Center is there to provide the copay assistance and clinical trial information and all of that stuff. So LLS.org.
Did you already tell Logan he's next year's?
Dude, you got to do it.
Oh boy!
We weren't getting to that yet.
Oh my gosh! Wait a minute.
We
here.
got about a minute 15 left. What are you doing these days? How, are you? I know you and I are doing some stuff, but what can you talk about? Anything fun?
I'm doing some consulting work, and the fun part is it's everything from a CBD startup company to our friend Don at Planet X, who are doing a lot of stuff about the environment now and eco worlds type things, which are really very rewarding, especially right now. I'm working with a lot of different companies, and that's kind of the fun is
Good for you.
realizing that all the things I've learned over the years can be
Come to
transferable.
fruition, right?
Yes.
Joe, I know you're going to Cabo for about 4 weeks. With the fair
Yeah.
So after that, when's opening day?
Well, I might wander over there. But, yeah.
When's opening day? One more
When's
time.
opening day is the 22nd of July.
July.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Mayor Faulconer,
Be there.
what's up next for you, pal?
Getting on my bike.
All right, go get on your bike.
Logan Burns. You can hear and see Logan Burns on KUSI's Good Evening San Diego with Ginger Jeffries.
Come out this afternoon
Yes.
to Fiesta del Sol. 3 p.m. We're playing. These guys are getting warmed up. Here we go.
Traces locked in